to firing number 102 of Starways Woodfire Kiln. We're lighting up this downdraft kiln, which started its work in the 1990s at Starways, Hogsback. Leander and I are firing mostly our own work. We have students' work, and we have work from Professor John Steele, who will be arriving soon. So the fires are started. It's 1:30 on Friday, the 20th of August, 2021. Leander is choosing the fuel. He has been spending many weeks putting together wattle, pine, and blue gum sticks, which burn very readily in the kiln and are exotic woods that we don't have to have. We have a lot of them on our property, as a matter of fact. So we have a pyrometer which is standing at 14 degrees. Outside, the temperature is in single figures, and we are very well wrapped up for our winter here. So now we're going to read the kiln, the pyrometers, after 3 hours. It is now 4:30, and John is going to read the 2 pyrometers that are attached to the back of the kiln. So if you please tell me what they are, I'll put them in the logbook.
The back bottom is a 222, and the back middle top is about 345. 345.
Right.
Yeah. So it's a nice temperature, and we'll see how things develop from there.
Right, and so now we're going to look at the one that is attached to the middle of the kiln in the front, and Leander's going to tell me what that is.
Okay, it's 343.
343.
Nice temperature.
It is a nice temperature there.
So the plan is to not go too fast so that the kiln settles, and after 3 hours we haven't pushed up the temperature by much. So now we're going to show you the size of the logs that we use to stoke. They are quite thick and long, and it's part of the warm-up of the kiln. Later on, the sticks get much thinner, but this is how we're going to do it for now. The logs have been put at the back there, and we're only going to stoke again in another 3 hours.
Yeah.
This particular firing, Leander's doing all the stoking so that he knows exactly what size of logs and what frequency he wants to do for his stoking of both fireboxes. Later on, he'll be able to instruct somebody who's a helper, but at the moment, he's very keen to monitor the size of the logs and the frequency. So this is he's put in 5 logs, and he will remember. He wants to be totally in control of the firing and the stoking. And now he goes and does the back firebox. So it's 6:10 the following morning, Saturday the 21st. We are close to reduction, which means that we're going to close the bungs and rob the oxygen from the kiln. So here we have the logbook, which is what they've been going for.
I just want to have a look here.
And here we have the kiln, which is now being stoked with thin sticks at much more frequent intervals, like every 3 to 5 minutes. The temperatures are 982. It goes up and down.
Okay. Yes, I'm coming.
809 and 880. The sky is still going towards sunset, and everyone is quite sleepy, including myself. So here we are, just waiting for reduction. Here's a clearer picture of the logbook with the details that we are recording. They have been stoking all night, and they took up more vigorous stoking at 3 a.m. The dogs are back in place, very close to the fire. And filming in this light is not very easy. So we are still busy with reduction here. At 6 o'clock, the lower cone situation at the bottom of the kiln started some melting. So when cone 06 started bending, we decided to film the reduction and start it, and then it bent right over, and 5 was starting to bend. And these are the times when you do reduction. The cones tell you, the pyrometers are just a guide to make you aware and to tell you when to stoke. So our reduction is well on the way, and it's approximately 20 minutes. And it is now 6:15. And the dawn is coming up beautifully. The temperature out there is probably about 2 degrees maximum, and our fingers are frozen. So a word about the damper. That is the block of shelf that is at the back, that opens and closes the back of the firebox mouth. It started out at 8 centimeters, and we note it down in the logbook as D8, D for damper. So at 3:30, it was opened up to D16, which is double the width. That means 16 centimeters outside the mouth of the firebox. Then at 6:10, it was opened up, it was closed down again with reduction to D10, and then for a short time during reduction it was opened up to D20. And now after reduction it has been reduced to D16. So it's 16 centimeters pulled out from the firebox mouth. They go with a metal tape, and they actually measure it with a tape. So this alters the rate of the flow of heat between the firebox and the chimney. The reduction is done. cone 6 is down and cone 05 is bending, and now we have to get the temperatures back up, because during reduction the temperatures drop, and we are now looking at temperatures of 831, 957 and 905. So we've got lots of indications from the pyrometers as to what exactly is happening with the inside of the kiln. Now we have to stoke for much higher temperatures.
So that'll be our next move.
So this is John and Leander consulting over the logbook. They have to decide when they're going to open up the kiln again for a temperature, and now we start stoking right up until about 5 o'clock this afternoon. The sun is rising slowly, and we are now on the following temperature.
Yeah, so what we're going to do next is we're going to pull the damper out again, and then that'll help us get back to a sort of more cleaner atmosphere for building up the temperature. Shall we do it?
So that is work with the damper, and what they are basing their decisions on is the cones 06 and 05, which are the accurate measurements of temperature in the kiln. They're busy with the damper at the back now, and then they're going to be ready for breakfast. A word about the stacking of the wood. As I mentioned earlier, this wood was collected over the last 3 months or more, and it's a mixture of pine, wattle and blue gum. Up until 1,000 degrees and later, the kiln is using wattle wood, and then towards the end it will be the pine, which is very dry. It's actually collected from the sawmill. So this is how much we have left at the moment, and I will show you towards the end how much is left. We don't always use it all, but it's quite a lot of wood to get through. The morning is very crisp and bright and sunny, which is a relief after heavy days of rain. Would have been difficult firing with rain. And we've moved from -2 to probably about 4 or 5 degrees now. So it's here in Hogsback where the temperatures are a lot lower than the surrounding countryside. So this is the logbook, which is showing the temperature increases on the 3 pyrometers from 8 until 10. And what has happened is that it has leveled out, and so they increased the damper from 18 to 20 centimeters pulled out, and have made a note that we have found it difficult to increase the temperature with wattle. So over here we have the wattle, which is now much lower than it was, and we're keeping the faster burning pine for the very end so that we can switch off. But obviously we're having discussions now about how much wattle to use and when we want to push the temperature faster. The flame coming through the spy hole also tells us when it drops in temperature and whether it's smoking or not, and whether we've put better wood on. We've just put a mixture of pine and wattle, and there's some action here from the flame, and it's another indicator of what's actually going on inside. And the temperature goes up a little. This pyrometer goes up and down and up and down. It just depends on when we last opened the door and put wood in. So now we are looking at the cones. John, can you tell us?
Yes, so it's very exciting. The 10 is where we want to be. The 10 is now classical, and 11 is getting soft, so it shows that we've reached temperature. Yeah. And interestingly, the bottom in this firing, the bottom is a little bit hotter than the top, which is the reverse of what's usually the case. So it's hard to tell why. Maybe it's the wattle.
It's a wattle, maybe. You just changed the kiln.
So we got to this temperature much quicker than before, and the repairs to the kiln seem to have made the big difference. And we've got a very big difference between our pyrometers and the actual cone. So that's something we've got to address. But we're rather thrilled because it's in fact only 12:30. And it's more or less the firing time that the early days of this kiln used to produce, which is very exciting. It's obviously been needing a little bit of maintenance since then. And so here we are on a beautiful day with lovely clouds, and we've got the afternoon off. How wonderful. And John and Leander looking very pleased with the whole situation. So we've got a lot of things to notify ourselves for next time, and we've got a successful kiln. So we stopped stoking at 20 to 2, and then we open the doors for half an hour, and then we close it up for at least a day and a half. And this is what it looks like when we're doing this. It's a wonderful moment to reach, and we're all happy and glad that we overcome the things that we weren't sure of. And our biggest lesson is to look at the cones more often. Well, it's 10 o'clock on Monday morning, the 23rd of August. The kiln has had a couple of days to cool down, and it's pretty cool. And we are content with what we are seeing in the front row. We've got some jugs at the top here, which are chun and finch, and they're showing lots of nice flame flash. And we've got sugar bowls, and a very nice looking chun mug right in the front. Another one of Leander's Cobalt Dash wine cups. These are John Steele's vases with cobalt and celadon. And we've got a chun cereal bowl, tiles for our new bathroom building down at the theatre. And so it goes on. A little copper plate, a nice little chun melt bowl, a refired candlestick, which looks much better, and a nice rutile and celadon rack. And here we have a nice drip on a tea bowl with chun. So from first look, we're not overfired, and we're very happy to unpack now. These two vessels come from our new red copper glaze. The flame brings out the red of the copper, and the other side of the flame leaves it in a copper green. The inside goes copper red, and it was in the heat of the flame. This one had only a small amount of flame, and so that part stayed red, and then the inside took up some red, and the rest of it stayed copper green. So these were test pieces for this glaze, and we are definitely going to proceed with it. This is a Shino salad bowl with iron oxide, and it's one of our standard decorating methods. There's a nice speckle in the middle, and we have several versions of this, large and small. So this is our standard oil burner. It takes a tea light in the middle, and then it has open clay to keep it secure on the mouth, and it has mostly open clay for the decorating. It is dipped in a celadon glaze. This is one of our large wood-fired vases. It has a frieze of a Greek motif dipped in celadon, and it has a very nice flame flash on the open clay. So we're very happy with this one. And it's come through the firing. They're quite dicey, these ones, but they work.